API, right? Some questions means I can only take one question, because this one question which you see out here is really lot of things out there. It has a lot of things out there, but I would like to demo this. Probably this one question will take my 40 minutes, but let us do it, right? I can tell you the answer straightforward. You can Google the answer as well, right? So don't have to worry about the answer. The answer is down below, but that's not my goal. My goal is that to really show you that what is the real answer with demonstration, right? So quickly, people, let me see how many people are new today to today's class. First time you have come in, or must be you have not attended yesterday's class. Anyone here who has not attended yesterday's class? So anyone here who has not attended yesterday's class? Let's say, okay, Rahul did not attend one. Who else? So try to catch up, because hey Bhavnesh, hello. Yeah, for you, I think I know Bhavnesh very well. So you have done the APIM. I had talked with you, right? So I think you don't have to worry. But very quickly, let me just quickly give you a brief, just to start with. So just a brief. I'll not be really going into now APIM demonstrations and so on. But what happens is, let's say that you want to do API management. So you have a WCF service. Quickly, guys, just 2 minutes for people who have just come today. You have a WCF service, you have a web API, you have some MVC API, which is old one, or MVC5 API. You have some Java API, so you have lots of APIs out there, and you want to go and group them. You want to go and apply policies on them. You want to do a lot of things on them, right? So what Azure has provided, they have provided this API management. So you go ahead, you create this API management service. And in this API management service, you can do a lot of things. You can create inbound rules. So you can have inbound rules, right? So rules saying that don't allow the limit to go above 3 requests. You can have outbound rules, saying cache, that basically if it is if you have a cache, you give the cache, or if the cache has expired, give a fresh one. So you can go and you can define caching. You can define transformation. For example, your output is in JSON, you want to give out an XML, and so on. So what this really, the pillars out here are, there is an APIM. This is your backend API. So this you can term it as a backend API. This is your front-end API, which is given by the Azure team, right? So this you actually configure through the portal. And these are the inbound rules and outbound rules where you write XML, right? So that's what exactly APIM was. And yesterday we saw a quick demo also of APIM, right? Now with that, let us go ahead and take this question. So people who are new, please try to see yesterday's video if possible, right? So here it is. Let's take up this question. And this question, at least 4 students who have attended, and including me, this question was there in 204, right? So you want to implement response caching. You want to implement response caching in the APIM gateway. Fine. So let me quickly go out here. So what it is saying is, let's try to understand. So you have an API. Guys, today's demo, I don't know how much successful it can be really, because it's quite tough demo. So I will try my best to make it successful. But in case if it is not, at least I'm sure that you will get an idea, right? So let us try the best what I can from my side. So here is your backend API. Let us say this is your APIM. Think that this is the web API, right? So what he wants is this outbound cache. So you must implement response caching. So that means that there has to be some kind of a caching out here. So this is outbound, right? And this is inbound. So must be, what probably we want to do is, the APIM sends a request, and this request, depending on certain conditions, will be cached. It will be cached somewhere, right? And then that cache will be returned if needed. So that's what I understand, right? So remember, this caching is not at this level. In the core backend API, there is no caching. This caching is implemented at the APIM level in the inbound and outbound, right? So let us see. You must implement the response caching. The caching mechanism must detect an user ID. Complicated. It must detect an user ID of the client that accesses the data given location and cache the response for that user ID. Means what? That basically probably there is a user who is logged in, So let us say user Shiv has logged in, right? So when you send a request, this is user Shiv. So we'll say, okay, this Shiv will first we'll see, okay, this is Shiv. Let us go and cache this output. If you have something like Raju, then Raju's cache is different. So he wants cache as per user. So the caching mechanism must detect the user ID of the client that accesses the data and cache the response for that user ID. So every user ID will have a cache, and that cache has to be returned. Quite complicated, right? Okay. So you need to add the following policies to it. You need to set a variable policy to store the user identity. Definitely in the inbound, I will need one variable where I will store first the user ID, right? So set the variable policy to store the user ID, cache the lookup. So in other words, very quickly, so he's saying that first set a variable, fine. So I'll have some variable like, let's say, user ID, and he actually goes and says the value is Shiv. Cache the output lookup value, fine. So this, whatever is user Shiv, whatever is the body of the HTML or body of the web API, I'm sorry, there's no HTML for this user Shiv, right? I will cache it saying Shiv output is something. Must be if there is Raju, then Raju will also have his body cached, means his API cached, right? And find and replace the policy to update the profile information. So, okay, find and replace the store and find and replace the policy to update the profile information. So what it means is, must be, he wants something like this. He wants that there should be user, and let us say this is the name, right? For now, assume that this is ID, right? So once he finds that this is ID, so he will say, okay, user slash Shiv, user slash Raju. So he's saying that find the replace policy to update the profile information. So update the URL and the profile information, right? So that's what he's saying. So now he's saying that these policies 1, 2, 3, and 4, where will you put it? There are only two places you can put it. One is you can put it in the inbound, and one is you can put it in the outbound. So these policies, where will you set the variable? Will you set it in the outbound? Where will you go and do a cache lookup? Will you do in the inbound? So here, in the Azure exam, you have to go and drag and drop this. So here, what he's saying is that go and tell me quickly. I want to also tell you what exactly there. So here he wants you to drag and drop and say, okay, this is inbound, this is probably inbound, or this is outbound. So he wants you to go and give this information, right? Good, very nice. So that's what the question is. Quite a tough question. Now remember that anything what you see out there in AZ204, it's all there in the documentation. So here is a documentation, the Microsoft Docs. They have given a very nice demo out here. I'm going to go and just put this demo out here to everyone. And this demo says everything, right? So if you see here, cache by key, custom caching. So you can see that over here, you can see at the top, cache by key. Cache by key means cache by an user ID or cache by something, right? So what he's saying is, here's an example, user profile and ID. So user profile Shiv, user profile this, and this is the JSON data which is going out. Okay, look at this first statement. You will set the variable. Remember, these are all in the inbound XML. You have to put it. So you will create a variable. So look at this. Set a variable policy to store the detected user identity. Fine. So set this variable to end user ID. This is the variable name. Let me go ahead here. Must be what I can do is, let me go to the final code. It's that is too much. Let me see. Can I? Okay, copy. Okay, let me just paste it here. So first thing, look at this. This is inbound. In the inbound, he is setting first the variable. Determine the user identity, right? Now, normally, if you see, when you talk about MVC or if you talk about API, they normally use the bearer token, the JWT token. So what he's doing out here is, he's saying he has created a variable here called as end user ID. This is his own variable You can make it anything like my UID. It's all okay, right? So let's keep his variable end user ID. And he's saying go and take the authorization token. So from the authorization token, take the subject. So in that subject must be there is a username, and that username he's setting out here. Step 1, he is setting the variable in the inbound section. Step 2, he will now take up this cache, right? Now remember guys, you don't have to by heart this. All the syntaxes are given in 204. 204 only wants to tell you that this is a feature available in Azure. In your project, try to use it. That's what it is trying to sell. So you don't have to really by heart this, saying that, oh, do I have to know this split and all? No, you don't have to know. If you see the exam question also, nowhere he's saying all that you have to know, right? So this, we copy it from documentation, it is okay. First step, so here, determine the user ID, look up the user profile. So first he looks up the user profile, cache lookup. He tries to look up the user profile with this end user ID, and he tries to set up in the user profile, right? So he tries to set up in the user profile. Look at this second statement, choose. Remember, as I've said yesterday, you have choose, you have loops in inbound. That XML is really, really dynamic. It is very powerful. You can create your own rules. So choose when this user profile is there, right? And for that user profile, you can see now he is building, if there is a user profile, he is building a new URL with saying whatever is a URL / user profile / that variable name, right? And this URL, this URI, whatever is the output, that body he is caching with the name of the user profile. So whatever is the user profile response, he's caching the body, right? And then that response, he's storing it inside the user profile, right? So now what will happen? First time it will go into this when condition, it will get this user profile, whatever it is, it will set the URL, it will cache it. Next time when he comes in, there will be a lookup. So when there will be a lookup, he will not go into this when condition, he will directly come outside, and then in the update response, we are saying, try to replace the user profile. Remember in the question, he had said that try to replace the policy to the updated information, right? So, but the point here is, if you look at this code out here, in the outbound section, only the find and replace is there. Rest of all are in the inbound. I just explained you the code, guys. This code is not written by me. It's written by Azure people, right? So here, you know, this complete, all the things are in inbound. That means only in outbound. So the answer for this is, remember guys, in online, I have found a lot of wrong answers. In online, I have found that people have written outbound. I don't know why. So this is definitely inbound. This code you will write in inbound. Lookup you will write in inbound. All is in inbound. And only the find and replace you will write in outbound. So as per the Azure documentation, that's how the code should be, right? But now, let me go and show a demo of this. This is understood. So this was the answer of this question, right? Let us try to do a quick demo of this, right? Now, so what I will do is, here is my web API, because once I show you a demo, so this is a web API. If you remember the simple web API we have in our ASP.NET core. So there is a get out here. So what I will do is I will replace this with a date and time. Let us say we want to replace it with the date and time. So the date and time will tell you that this response is cached or not, right? So let me try that. So date and time dot now. Great. Now dot right now dot toString, yes. Okay, great. So I have this get out here. Must be I don't want other gets now for now. This get returns the date and time dot now string, and what I want is when I make a get call. So what will happen is if I now make a get call, API / index, right? Guys, be patient, you know, please try to bear with me for the coming 30 minutes. It's a very big demo because it involves JWT token, it involves extraction of the user ID. It's not a simple demo of here, right? So try to be with me, and this all videos are available on Questpond. So here now I'll say API API/index. So now, because this is not cached and I don't want to implement caching here, I want to implement caching in the Azure API, right? So if I do a refresh out here, 38, 39, no caching, and that's understood, right? This API, I want to do caching. Now, the first thing is we need some kind of a username or user ID by which this has to be identified. So what I will do is I will generate a JWT token. I will generate a JWT token, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add one more controller out here. How many people are new to JWT here? Very quickly, let me check out. So how many people are new to JWT? We had some previous classes of JWT. How many of the people are new to JWT? Just say new to JWT. Why I'm using JWT? Because inside the JWT claims, I will have the user ID. That code out there will extract the user ID and extracted the user ID and make a lookup. So that's the goal out here. So that means that first, if that demo has to work, my web API has to be JWT enabled. And in that JWT, I will put a username, some hard-coded username, right? Right. So that's good, so this JWT, very quickly, I can see that means a lot of people know about JWT. So that means that I can move ahead. This JWT token is nothing but it is a token, which definitely so what happens is, you have your client, the client sends a request and there is a token generated, right? No, Mohit, I can see a question from that. No, JWT is not only the way, you can use a lot of other ways as well, but token-based authentication is nowadays a kind of, how do you say, when you talk about, the open web, right? In the web, this has been the most popular way of doing it, right? You can use other ways also of doing it by using Azure AD or Active Directory as well and so on, right? But at the end of the day, there should be a token. The token should be there, right? Yeah, there are other ways as well, but I will use a token now. So now in this token, one is there is a key, a secret key. Another one, there is something called as claims. So this key is there, which will get generated. We'll see that how to generate it. Another one is claims. In this claims, we will have, let us see what he's looking at. If you look at, he's saying that from the authorization, I will do a split and I will extract the subject. You can see from the authorization, I will take JWT and I will extract the subject. So what I will do is in the claims, I will create one variable here called as subject, and in that I will put Shiv. So now what will happen? There will be a key, some big key out there, and there will be these claims, where he will say subject equal to Shiv. So now what the API will do, he will extract this Shiv and he will then make the cache lookup. Right, guys? So that's what I'm planning to do. And that's what that code is. This code out here, if you look at the code, why I needed a JWT, because, this is the right way to do it, actually. If you really want security, this is the right way to do it. From the authorization token, from the bearer, you will take the JWT. From the JWT, you will take one of the variables, whatever you wish, which you think which identifies the username, like he has taken subject, right? And then the other code will all depend on that thing, right? So I will go here and I will generate a JWT token. So to generate a JWT token, this is the code out here to generate a JWT token, right? At this moment, guys, I will not go into this. Let me not waste my time out here. But this code out here uses the symmetric key. It uses the HMAC algorithm, and you can see there is we will put one subject because that's what he's using. So I'll just say subject is equal to Shiv. I wish that he had used an email address, which was better way of doing it, but fine. I'll take a Shiv as the subject. So by looking, but what he will do now is, whenever he hits my web API will say, give me the token. He will take the token, right? So the API will take the token. He will extract these claims. He will take this Shiv, and using this Shiv value, he will do the lookup. Right, guys? So I'm going to go and copy this. So for now, guys, this method out here generates a token, and in that token, there is a claim. That claim means what? That claim says, I am a user, I am a pilot, I am a manager. So claim says, what am I authorized to do? So there is authentication and there is authorization. So authentication is the key. Authorization is the claims, right? So I'll take this and over here, no, Devendra, I'm not duplicating it. I need the key. I'll tell you why. Don't worry. So I'll add here. Without this, I won't be able to generate. So, okay, let's do this very quickly. So now I will go and I will enable JWT out here. So this will generate my JWT key, right? That's a JWT key. And I will just take all the necessary namespaces out here. This is all very quick, right? And all very quick out here. Claims, security claims. The configs, yes. So let's take the configs also. So I'm going to go and copy this. So guys, don't go too much into this code out here. It generates the token, right? Encoding, configuration, security controller, all good. Security controller, right? And to enable JWT in your startup.cs, you need to go and put certain things. I have already included that. You can see that I've already included all this, right? And the next thing is in your this index controller out here, right? Over here, you have to put that authorize attribute. So you have to go and put this authorize attribute out here, authorize. Okay, good. So if you see now, this get method out here is protected by JWT, right? So in other words, if I go and if I run this, let me go and run this. This index method out here, the get method cannot be called directly. So for example, if I now try to go and call API, you can see here API/index. If I try to do this, it says 401. So what I need to do, I need to first go and call that security controller and get the token. So here is my token. Remember, this is the token, and this token has to be passed in the headers. This token has to be passed in the header. So you can see out here, I'm not creating any Angular thing at this moment or any kind of client. So I will use this mod header, and in this mod header, what I will do is I will that token, because even now also if I go and try to hit, so I just copied all this first thing. If I now also go and try to hit this API/index, it will throw me an exception. So if this has to be worked, do is I have to go here to the mod header. In the request header, I will add authorization. Remember, this is the Chrome modification of the header, right? And I will say here bearer, and I will paste that thing. And once this thing gets pasted, I'm able to make a call. Very good. So now I have an API which is JWT enabled. And this API M code out here, what he will do is he will take this JWT subject, which is at this moment value Shiv. He will, from the authorization, he will extract it and he will do a cache, right? Let us see how that happens. So first thing, I will go and I will publish this. So if I want to go and publish this, let me go and see if I have a ready-made app service out here. You can see now, guys, all my Azure login has stopped working, because Azure login also uses JWT. So I'm going to go and delete it, or else, the portal does not work. Great. So there it is. It is working. So I have this QuestPond API management service out here. Very quickly, let me go ahead. Oh, that's API service is not there. Okay. So let me go and create an app service very quickly, and let me put that. Guys, bear with me. You would find that the JWT token is a repeated topic, because without that, this code will not work. This code needs that JWT, right? And that question out there, extraction of the user ID is from JWT. That's why that JWT topic I have just touch base. So QuestPond, this is a QuestPond website. So I'll say this is QuestPond backend. Remember, a backend API. select runtime API, .NET Core. And I am, what happened? Not finding a service plan? No, then go, where do I go? I go to East US, must be. Sometimes, these centers out there, sometimes they don't work. Okay, looks to be good. Fine, it is creating deployment. I just created in some other region. Sometimes the regions are down and it's a problem, right? On this, whatever I'm creating out here, this app service. So whatever app service I'm creating out here, what happened to my app service? Still getting created. No voice. Right. Okay, so that is my app service out here. Over here now, I will let me know, guys. My voice is there. I'm not sure if my not sure. You know what? That I was touching some mouse. So sorry for that. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So let's go back. So I'll go here. I'll publish this. Let's quickly, very, very quickly publish this. So let's go and publish this to that app service which I've just created. So I'll just go and you can see I've logged in into my account from my Visual Studio, and that's my backend API. And I will just quickly go and publish this, right? So this is my backend API, which has got now published to Azure. And this backend API, I will add it to my Azure APIM. So I will add it to my Azure APIM. So once this API is published, you can see it is happening right down there. It is still happening here. And then after this, I will go to this API management service, and I will go and I will add this API. Remember that this API has JWT token enabled. It's a very important thing, right? And over there, we will now go and define the inbound rules. And those, by using those inbound rules, we want to see the caching working, right? Inbound and the outbound rules, right? So there it is. One of the things, which I always feel is that if I go ahead and if I create a project which is so tied up with Azure, for example, let us say that I create a web API. I don't do caching in the web API. I do caching in the API management. I am completely tied up with Azure portal. I can never ever, my application can never ever work into somewhere else. Getting it? So that's something, it always come to my mind, because like, look at these XMLs, these inbound policies, these outbound policies. It's sometimes very, very scary, at least personally for me. So I sometimes think that, oh, so if I want to go tomorrow to Amazon, I can't really, right? So I think, these are some of the questions which you need to really ask yourself. All these are good. As Microsoft wants us to learn everything. They want us to implement everything, but be very careful. When you start using the complete Azure ecosystem, your application is dependent on that. There is one, it's still loading out there, guys. I can take up some questions out here. Where was the JWT token enabled for web app in Azure? No, Rahul, at this moment, the JWT token is not enabled in web app. Okay, in the web app means the backend API you are saying. In the backend API, I've already enabled it. In the backend API, in the index controller, you can see I have decorated this authorize. By putting this authorize out here, the JWT token will be checked. So it is out here and also in this. No, in the app service, no, app service does not check for it. See, there are two things. There is an app service and there is an APIM. So app service, the code runs inside the app service. So you can see here, there are two things. This is the API management service, And inside this, I will be adding an app service. So on app service, we don't implement anything as such. Give me 2 minutes, So here it is. So first thing, if I go here, let me check this. Yes, API M is like a gateway. Yes, absolutely. Right. So now here is my service running. I'm hitting directly the backend API. I'm directly hitting the backend API. 401 unauthorized exception, no problem. And I go and so this is all on Azure now. I will go to my, what is that? Security, what was that? Security / that gets me the token. So security / that gets me a token. I'll just check it, if these are working. So it's here. I go here, I can add here. And so looks like everything is working. We don't have to really test it, right? So that everything is working. Now let me go here and let me add the app service. Now this app service, I will add it to the API management service. And in that, I want to do that caching using from that JWT token. From that JWT token, I want to extract this subject Shiv, and using this key, I want to do my caching. So the goal here is this. That's what the goal of this tutorial is: custom caching, or look at the name at the top, cache by some key, which is probably extracted from user ID and so on. And the question here also says the same, must detect the user ID of the client, and the user ID of the client is stored into the JWT token or some kind of a token, right? So very quickly, let me now go here and add this app service inside this. So the URL, okay, so that's just browse. Remember that if it's an open API, a naked API like Java, you can go and use the, you can go ahead and you can use the open API. Remember, you can add a function app here, you can add a logic app, you can add app services and everything what you wish out here, right? So there it is added. Okay, good. Now this API management service out here has two APIs. One is the Echo API, which I yesterday discussed, and one is the Questpond backend API, and a lot of API. So remember, API management service, as someone says, it is like a gateway which has inbound rules, which has outbound rules, right? So now what I want is in this backend API, let us go to the backend API out here. And remember, we need to have two gets. We need to have two gets, or else we won't be able to make our application working. One get is, so we will need to have two gets. So Questpond API. So here there are two gets. One is the Questpond backend API. I'm sorry. So I should name it Questpond front end and backend. So that's the word Microsoft uses. So now here there are two gets. One is API / index. So let's make an entry of this API / index. So I'm going to go here to the Questpond API, and in that get what you see out there, So this is the backend. So this is a get. Now this get is like, if you try to hit this, if you try to test this get, if you look at this, I think I showed yesterday. If I try to hit this, if I say test, there is test right away out here. I can just test it. Test this get. If you see what it does is, it actually tries to hit this one. But if you see at the back end, API, it is trying to hit over here. He should not hit over here. He should hit /API / index, right? So I'm going to go and delete this get, and let me do that. So we need to put two gets, one to get the JWT token and one to get the API, right? Because without the token, I cannot really extract the username, right? So design, and where is the add? Design and add an operation. So this is get index, right? And API index, and I'll say save this. That's the get index. One more we will need now for the get, how do you say, get JWT. I'm sorry, the get JWT. So for the get JWT, the thing is slash this one security slash JWT token, because on the same session the token has to be generated. So I will need to hit that, right? Save this. Great. We have two gets. Guys, please try to follow. I know that people who have come for the first time to this class, this is going to be a very difficult class for you. If you're new to Azure, please go and see the Learn Azure step-by-step video series. Please see our AZ900, AZ204 initial video series, or else this demo is completely bounces. Henceforth, 204 will become extremely complicated. Let me tell you that, because the 204 is meant for developers. It's hardcore developers, right? So you will see all these demos which are really sometimes difficult to follow in the first instance. So you can see get index. Let me try this. So if I now try to get to this get index, first let us go ahead and define our inbound processing. So I'm going to go and I'm going to go here to my inbound processing, and let us go and copy that code. So this is the code out here, and I will take the final code out here. Let's try to see this code. This code will need a lot of changes. Let me see what I can. So in the inbound, I have to set the variable. Let me just copy from here to here. I think the code I've explained. First, let us copy inbound. Oh, we have it here. Let me see. So this is all okay. This is the variable which is created out here. Only the URL. This URL cannot be this one. It will be something related to my URL, right? So what I'm going to do is I will take the URL of API/index. Right. So I want that. This is the URL with the profile. He should try to cache it. Let us see. Right, and other things are all okay, right? So extract the value from the token in the end user ID variable. Lookup. If there is no lookup, then if there is a lookup, he will take up the lookup. If not, when the condition is not the user profile, you do this and this. You add this variable. You set the profile. You set the body of the string, and you store it in the cache, or else look up from the cache, right? So I'll take all this and I will put it in my inbound rule. So there it is in the inbound rule. Over here, I will go ahead and I will paste this thing. So look at that answer. All the three things are pasted into inbound rule. So remember, I'll just, as I go and I type out here, the set variable, the cache lookup, the cache store, everything goes into inbound. I hope that that answer which I've written out now must be going into your head, right? So this is the inbound. The second one, there is an outbound as well. Find and replace. So I'll copy this and I will paste it into the outbound. So there is outbound out here. I'll just paste it, Control V, and I will save it. Great. So there it is. So what will happen now? Must be I can just draw a diagram and try to explain. First thing. There is an API your API management service out here, right? Which has the inbound rules, which has the outbound rules, and whatever you all defined out here. Your Suite backend API is sitting out here, the web API, right? So first request will come in, and I will say generate the JWT token. He sends the request out here. I get my token, and in this token, we have in the claims, we have a subject equal to Shiv. Now this was to get the token, this request. Now second request, I send the token inside it. Without the token, it will be an error. Huh? So the token goes, the first thing what he does is he extracts that subject from the token. So extracts that subject from the token and puts it into that variable, user ID and user ID. This is his own variable. Using this variable, he creates the cache, he looks up the cache and so on, right? So if there is no cache, he will go hit that API URL push it into cache and send it. Now, if I again go back with the token, let's say within that 3000 seconds, I don't know how much is the expiry time he has given, something he has given here, the duration, you can see the duration out here. So if I go within that time, he will say, okay, let me look in the cache with that user ID, and he will give me that. So from the token itself, he will extract the claims and he will look up into the cache and do the things, right? So let me know any questions here, guys, this before I execute this. Any queries out here? Not an easy demo to probably understand from so far away. Not an easy demo to demonstrate as well. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, swagger, Amit. I really like that word, swagger. The tool. Yeah, any questions, guys? If you have any questions. So guys, any questions, please put down out there. Must be I can quickly go and show the demo out here till then, because already we are one question. If really somebody tries to learn AZ204 and AZ900 practically, right, he will become a big boss in Azure. I can tell you that, at least AZ204 from developer. Yes, it is extracted from the claims. Yes, you are right. It is extracted from the claims. But get token and caching is happening by one call. No, it is. So first thing, let me take some questions out here. So caching is based on claims here. It is not only based on claims. From the claims can have a lot of things. So remember, in security, there are two things. One is the principal and another one is the claims. So you can see in the claims, there are a lot of values, email address, subject. So he's caching on the base of subject. Please note. So here, this code out here, I actually wanted to just, I don't want to code so much, I can't, right? So I just took it. So you can see here, look at this, I'm highlighting, he's taking from the subject. Yes, yes. So it is from the claims, but from claims, it is one of the properties and not the whole claim. Okay. But get token and caching is happening by one call. No, it will not happen by one call. There are two methods already. There are two methods. Can you see here? Get JWT money. You look at this here. This is get JWT. This will help me to get the token. This is get index. That will help me to hit the API. And when I hit the API, you need to have the token. See, I didn't want to get into creating of a UI, guys, at this moment, Angular UI. I think in Angular we did JWT, right? So I don't want to do a UI at this moment. So no, there are two methods already out here. So just putting this by one call. No, it is by two calls. So this over here, this is call one. This one is call one. And the second one is call two, right? By one, no, it's by two calls. Where is the cache stored? The value of the cache. So well, for a very good question. In the web API, it uses the Redis cache. So it stores this all into the Redis cache. It's all internally into the web API. We don't have to worry about it. Should JWT token be regenerated with every request? You can do it, Rahul, with every request. But if you do it with every request, please make sure that you pass it in every request. You cannot. That's a good idea to always see every request. You don't need it. You don't have to be too much insecure from that point of view. But I would suggest, because with every request, if you regenerate, right, then it's a new token. It's a new session, really. So I don't think that you should regenerate with every request. For one session, there should be one unique JWT token. But if he closes the browser, it's a new JWT request, right? This variable is a preemptive data type or any. So Mohit, this variable out here is a data type which is of XML, which is defined. So this is more of Azure thing. I'm not really sure that this data type is what exactly. Must be I need to check that. But it is a variable, just a variable. I'm not sure. I need to check that. This variable is what kind of thing it is. This XML internally I have not looked into. Okay. But internally API I have to make, yes, you can do sliding expiration. So guys, let me go out here and let me show the demo. So first thing, before I hit the get index, I have to first hit the get JWT. So I'm going to go and use this test out here, test, and I will send a request and let's get the JWT. So there it is, first request one. Let me draw the diagram again. This is what is happening. I have hit and I've got the JWT token. This JWT token, now I will paste it Remember, it's the same browser. Now I'll go to get index. I'll go to get index out here. In this, I will add a parameter. Parameter has to be authorization. Oh, it has to be a header. Remember, this is a query parameter, not this. We need a header. It's a header. Authorization bearer tokens are header information. So authorization. This is bad. Shouldn't they give me some kind of, oh, there is a drop down out here. Aha. Wow. Authorization. Yeah, there is a drop down at there. There's no intelligence, but here also like this B is capital. This also has to be intelligence, right? See, if I don't do this, look at this. If let's say I don't have any JWT, I just try to send a request. Let us see what happens. Internal server error. Absolutely. If you go and see the trace, if you just go and see very, very quickly, well, before even that 401, you can see here, index was outside the bound of arrays. So he was trying to find a subject. Definitely there is no JWT, so it is null. So you can see that he was trying to, from that JWT, he was trying to extract that claims and he did not get it, right? So that's a good way to look at it. Fine, let me go back now. Let us go back and try to now put some headers. Okay. So an add and header, authorization. I really like this. They have a drop down at least. Bearers, Control V, send. Now I shouldn't get an error. So look at this. First thing, 417.45. That is fine. We'll look at that thing. Let us go and see the trace out here. Let us see what has happened. The trace gives you a lot of good information. First thing, inbound rules. Look at this. How do you read the trace? Let me try to maximize this. Inbound. This is all inbound, right? So first thing, it has hit the correspond, not the backend API, the front end API, right? From there, he has got this token, right? Good. What else? From there, he extracted that value. Look at that value. The value is now Shiv. My subject was Shiv. Good. He took that variable and he pushed it into this end user ID. And from there, he made a cache entry, cache lookup. He did not probably get the lookup. And then he probably make an entry out here. And then he had set the backend API, right? So this is then after that, so this is inbound. So inbound is all that. Now goes the backend API. The backend API is hit. Remember, first inbound, then backend, then outbound. So backend API is hit. The request is forwarded, whatever, blah, 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 comes out here. And then this is the outbound. In outbound, we are setting that this one, So you can see everything is working out here. The cache is working, right? Now, what should really happen is, if I now hit out here, I'm not sure this because I did not check a lot of things out here, but so, and very quickly, like this is get index. Okay. If you do, right, what happened? It expired. Looks like, yeah. Oh, the header. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yep. Thank you very much. So that means that everybody is watching this demo. I'm happy for that. Because normally such kind of demos, after some time, it is really boring. Send. Okay, thank you very much for that. Now remember, guys, just quickly, small things out here. I know that when you do the demo, you will become hands-on. There is message, there is trace. So message is what is the final output, what you want to see, right? And trace is one that which I've shown very in depth, right? So I want to just see the message at this moment. 420, send. No, 420.27. Oh, 32, it is not caching. 36, something is wrong out there. Some lookup has messed up. What I was expecting is, I need to check this. If I do a send out here, what I was expecting is, Yeah, but even if it is same date and time, no, it should not be same. This second should also get cached, isn't it? If it is coming from the cache, whatever is at 10,000 milliseconds and so on, this should show the same value again and again, rather than showing like this. So something is wrong out there. I will check this part. I'm not sure why. You can see 421.11. What is he caching? He's caching by using. He's using this user profile. I don't have this user profile. I think we need to change this code. Okay, so guys, I will not go into this now. I will see that after the class. I'll try to check that why it is not caching. But I hope that you guys have got an idea. Yes, user profile. Yes, yeah. This I don't have an URL called as user profile, right? So I need to create one. Where is an error? Where do you see that error? You have nice eyes. How did you catch it? I didn't see it. Yeah, it's not optional. It's this one. I made it as API index, but I think I need to check that part, how we can append the username, right? But okay, but I hope that you have understood it, that why I've created JWT, so that I can extract that and then do the lookup, right? So remember, guys, this is a very, very favorite question, and I know that I've spent around 1 hour demonstrating this. I'll just reiterate this. And remember, one question of 204 carries huge marks. So if you just even if you do this many questions, you are passing 204. So from the day one, and that case study of shipping, if you're doing it, you should be able to do it. Yes, user profile is not there, Sandeep, because of that lookup is there. Yes. So that's a problem. And my get is a very simple get, right? So my get has to be that structure of /user, which I don't have it, right? So fine. So we will check that part. But here it is. You must implement the response caching for now. Now you can understand this question much better. You want to implement response caching. The caching must detect the user ID that accesses data. You need to set the variable cache lookup, cache store, find. So inbound, and outbound, right? So that was this question out here. Okay, I think it's almost 55 minutes. So guys, any questions? Any queries? Quest1 support, you can stop recording now, I think.